Hello everyone, welcome back to the Hayley Space Knitting Podcast. My name is Hayley and I am a nurse and knitter from Melbourne, Australia. This is episode 4 of this knitting podcast and I'm going to talk to you today all about the things that I knit up throughout the month of October. If you're new here, I follow a standard podcast format, so I'm going to start off by talking about my finished objects, my works in progress, and then any acquisitions or plans that I have. And then we'll do some knit and chat at the end where I'll tell you about the things I've been watching or listening to or reading whilst knitting this past month. I do want to preface this video by saying another huge thank you to everyone who has been watching and subscribing and commenting and liking on these videos. It's been a really big motivator for me and I've been so excited to come back and keep filming these videos for you guys. I love talking about my knitting and there's not many people in my life who know anything about knitting or are as excited or thrilled about my knitting as I am. So it's nice to have found a little group of people in a community that really listen and appreciate the things that I've been working on, and I love hearing about what you guys have been working on as well. It's been really inspiring and I've got lots of ideas from you guys. So I want to do a quick little life update because I feel like October flew by and it was very busy. A lot happened. So after I filmed my last podcast and uploaded it, I got some crazy cast on energy and I casted on a bunch of random things, which in my head made me think that I had less stash yarn than I actually did. And so I then went out and I bought more yarn and cast on more new things. And I got really overwhelmed and I actually ended up having a knitting slump for about 2 weeks where I don't think I really knitted on anything at all. Then I went away to see my boyfriend who's training in the army at the moment. So I went to visit him. We had a little fancy dinner event that we had to go to. And when I came back, about 2 days later, after landing back in Melbourne, I tested positive for COVID. So according to Melbourne's rules, COVID rules, I isolated for 5 days, which meant that I had 5 days of just uninterrupted knitting time. The first 2 days at home, I was really unwell, so I actually didn't get anything done at all. But the last 3 days, I really punched through some knitting and felt like I made a significant amount of progress. Then I came out of isolation and worked for a bunch of days in a row. And then it was my birthday. I had a little birthday dinner. And now this week, 3 of my friends are also having birthday events. So it's just been crazy busy. I think that's the reason for me telling you all of that, is that I do not have as many finished objects to show you today as I would have liked, which is fine. I'm trying not to put pressure on myself with this podcast. It's really just a space for me to talk, and I talk incessantly. So I think we'll still have enough to share today, even though it's maybe not as much as my previous episodes. So let's crack on. I'm going to start with what I am wearing because I am wearing a piece of my own knitwear today. I am wearing the Camisole number 5 by My Favorite Things Knitwear. I knit this up at the end of 2020, maybe 2021. And this was sort of the first, I think this was the first paid pattern that I ever knit from. And I had seen it all over Instagram. It was trending everywhere. And the racerback style really is very flattering on me. And I have a lot of tops that have this shape. And so that really appealed to me. And so I paid for this pattern and we knit it up. It was at a time where I didn't really know much about gauge, but I had learnt a lot more about how to manipulate patterns and how to understand patterns. So I actually used, I think it's called Knit Row Counter, the app, to alter the number of stitches to cast on because I didn't actually meet gauge for this top. This top kind of went by in a blur. I don't really remember the process of knitting it. I was doing exams at the time, I think, in my final year of nursing. So I was doing my last few exams and my last few placements. So I don't really remember the experience of knitting this. And so I don't really have much to say about the process, except that it felt like it took forever. This 2x2 rib pattern just takes so long, especially when you get to the body and it just goes and goes and goes. So because of that, it's very short. I used some yarn that I got from a sweater that I frogged. So I bought a sweater from Kmart for like $10, and I was kind of sick of that sweater. I wasn't really wearing it, so I frogged it, and it's composed of cotton and nylon. I do love this top. I haven't worn it much actually ever since I finished it, and there's a couple reasons for that. The first reason is that I couldn't be bothered learning how to do applied I-cord. I was still very much a beginner, and it kind of scared me, or maybe it was double knitting. I'm not 100% sure what the bind off is, but I was too scared or overwhelmed to try to learn how to do it. So I think I just did a regular knitted bind off. You know, when you knit 2 stitches and you pass one over the other, and then you knit one, you pass it over the other stitch, that kind of bind off. And so whilst it looks okay, like it looks fairly clean, it is very, very, very tight. So getting this over my head, I think you can kind of tell as well, like it is so tight here. So pulling it over my head is a mission, but once it's on, it's on. And the armholes are very similar in that the bind off is very tight, so it cuts very high up into my armpits, which I don't mind. It's not uncomfortable, but is just not the intention of this top. As I said, it's very short because I got bored and wanted to cast off, and so I did. So it's very, very cropped. And this top is also not bra friendly, especially for us larger chested ladies who do need to wear a bra, even in a ribbed top. It's not ideal for that. And I don't wear strapless bras. I can't. I find them really, really uncomfortable and awful to wear. So hence the cardigan, and hence why I haven't really worn it. It's really great over the top of like a bikini, because who cares if you see the straps, but I don't like the look of this. So I tend to wear it with a cardigan over the top, which limits the times of year that I can actually wear it in. I had a lot to say about that top, sorry. I didn't think I would talk for that long about this top, but that is my first ever camisole number 5. And we have another one in the works for summer, which hopefully will fit a little bit better and be a little bit longer than this one. I'm going to talk now about some finished objects for this month because I'm really excited to show you some things. Now, none of these finished objects were whips in the previous podcast. As I said, I got crazy cast on energy. So these are smaller projects that I cast on and finished between filming the last podcast and this one. This first one was a project that I mentioned as a plan in my previous podcast, and it has been a plan for the last couple of months. I've just been waiting for the yarn to arrive, and it is the cowl that I was knitting up. I wanted to knit up for my dad for Christmas. I think you can see that. So I used the Cowl series pattern by Cosmic Thread. I mentioned this in my last podcast as well, which is a kind of mix and match knitting pattern. So there's 4 different ribbing patterns explained, and there's also 4 different body patterns explained in the whole pattern itself, which is great. Makes it customizable, means you can kind of alter how you want the cowl to look. I went with a 1x1 rib and the basket weave pattern, and I used Malibrigo Rios in the color Eucalipto. This is my first time using, I guess, a more fancy yarn, you could say. When I first started knitting, I used a lot of acrylic, and so I have a lot of that in my stash. And in Australia, it's quite difficult to access more popular yarns that you see on knitting podcasts, so like drops and all of that. So there haven't been very many opportunities where I've been able to try different types of yarns that a lot of people work with. So this was the first time that I've ever used something a little bit more luxurious. It is 100% superwash merino, so it's not like the fanciest yarn on the planet, but it's more fancy than anything I've used before, and I just love how it's come out. I love the color, I love how it looks, and my dad, he loves it. He's so happy. He's like, can you send it to me now? And I'm like, I'm gonna send it to you for your birthday / Christmas. And he's gonna take it on his little hiking holiday that he's going on with my mum over Christmas. So This was a really quick and easy pattern to knit up. It was really Moorish. I always wanted to just get to the next section. I cast this on when I got COVID and then finished it, I think, whilst I was still in isolation. So it was a very, very quick project. Potato chippy, Moorish, was perfect for what I needed. And I'm so happy that I've got this off my needles and I finished one Christmas gift knit. My next finished object is quite big and might be quite tricky to show you, but I will put in some cutaways here for you. But it is a self-drafted granny square bag. I'll hold it up for you. Yeah, it's quite big. It's holding some yarn at the moment, but I'm intending to use this as a beach bag throughout summer. As I said, this was a self-drafted pattern. I used stash acrylic for the white sections, and the blue granny squares is using Moda Vera shadow that I had left over after knitting up my basic knit tee by Lion brand. The Moda Vera shadow is 40% acrylic and 60% cotton. I made 27 blue granny squares, and then I used the join as you go method to join them into panels of 3x3. So there's one panel of 3x3 on the front, one panel of 3x3 on the back. And then I crocheted 9 granny squares in just a long line to go around the sides and the bottom of the bag. And I just used slip stitches to join all the panels together. And then I did 5 just plain white granny squares for the strap because I actually ran out of the blue yarn. I always forget this, which means I've kind of hidden it well, I would think. Yeah, here. So I ran out of the blue yarn, so this square has more white than the others, but you really can't tell. What you can tell is that I have not woven in any of the ends. That's one thing about granny squares that I hate doing, is weaving in the ends. I think with crochet in general, I don't like weaving in the ends. I don't know what it is. It just feels tedious to me, and I don't know exactly where to put my needle and where to weave in the end. And because this is cotton, it's a bit difficult to ensure that the ends won't slip out. But at the moment, I don't really mind that all the ends are hanging out. It's just a bag. It's holding a heap of yarn at the moment, and will eventually just hold some towels and will get sandy and whatever when I use it over summer. So I don't really mind so much that the ends aren't woven in. But I love the shape of it. I love how it came out. It came out exactly how I intended it to, and I'm excited to use it over summer. All right, I only have one other finished object to show you, and it's actually holding one of my whips, so that will be a good segue. This is also another self-drafted pattern that I will just tell you how I did. It is very, very similar to a PetiteKnit design. I can't remember exactly what the bag is called. I'll put a picture here. But this is a little project bag that I made. So I knit this little project bag up using just some stash acrylic yarn that I wanted to get through and a 4mm needle. And it is knit mostly, well, completely in moss stitch. So I will tell you how I did it. I cast on provisionally in a circle, and then very similar to the dumpling bag, which I will share my progress on as well. I cast on, I would say maybe 100 or maybe 80 stitches in the round provisionally with a crochet cast on, and then I knit in moss stitch all the way up, just in like a tube, basically. And then once I got to the top, where are we? I did an I-cord bind off. There we go. And I sewed, we're tangled. Of course we're tangled. And I just threaded through some yarn to make these little straps, and then did some triple crochets at the end to make these little balls, which just turns it into a cinch bag. I was going to make this into a smaller clutch sized project bag and put a zipper in it, but I wanted to use as much of this yarn as possible, and so I decided that I would just keep going and make it taller and taller and taller, so it could hold a little bit more, and then just turn it into a cinch bag. So once I cast off with the I-cord bind off, I went back to my provisional cast on and I picked up, I think maybe 10 stitches at the side here. Just picked up those stitches and I knit just flat in moss stitch until it matched the number of stitches on each side, if that makes sense. and then I Kitchener stitched it to the 10 stitches on this other side, and then I Kitchener stitched, you can see it, that's why it's not so beautiful, but I Kitchener stitched the sides of the base to the sides of the bag, and that just made the rectangular base. Super easy, super quick. I don't own the PetiteKnit pattern that this looks like, the moss stitch clutch. I was thinking, oh, I think it's called the winter clutch. I know that I have wanted to knit that pattern up in the past, but to be honest, now that I've done this bag, I'm kind of like, I don't really need to buy that pattern, because I can just just DIY it. And even though it doesn't look exactly like the winter clutch, you know, it's similar in that it's moss stitch, it's got a rectangular base, it is what it is. So I'm quite proud of this little project. It's going to be perfect for holding socks or beanie whips or glove whips, which is what it's currently holding. Before I move on to my whips, I will say I want to knit up this bag again and refine the base to make it less messy. You can see it just looks like knit stitches here. And then potentially knit up a smaller size with a zip, or knit one up at a larger gauge to make a larger bag, because I think I was using a 4mm needle, and with moss stitch, I don't know, it was just a bit hard on my hands, and I wouldn't mind knitting it up at a looser gauge. I think that would look nice. But yeah, I'm going to segue into works in progress now, because I have one that I'm really super excited to share that I have been keeping in this little bag. So when I ordered the Malibrigo yarn for my parents' gift knits, I decided I'm ordering from Wool Warehouse. It's going to take 2 weeks, 3 weeks to get here. So I might as well order some other types of yarn that I've been wanting to try. So I've been wanting to try the Drops Baby Merino and Drops Kid Silk Mohair for ages. It's not a yarn that's easily accessible in Australia. It's not sold at your local yarn store. It's not particularly cheap if it is sold at a yarn store, because there's a lot of tax costs, and also the shipping costs and everything like that make selling yarn in Australia, popular yarns, very difficult. So I thought I'd order some Drops Baby Merino and Drops Kid Silk Mohair just to give it a go. So that's what I did, and this is what I've got. I'm so happy to have my hands on this yarn. I've been wanting to try it for ages. I know it sounds kind of weird coming from, you know, a knitter to say, oh, I was so excited to try Drops yarn because it's so easily accessible and commercial in the Northern Hemisphere, but I am very excited to finally try the yarn that I've seen everyone use all over, you know, Knitstagram and Ravelry and whatever. So I got Drops Baby Merino, which is 100% superwash, this is color 23. I'll write the name of the color here that I used. So I got 2 balls of that, so 100 grams, and then I just got 1 ball of the mohair, and I don't know what color this is. I'll put it here as well so you can see. But the fluff on this and the halo on this is insane. I don't think my phone, if I cover my face, maybe? I don't think my phone will focus on it, but I'm so happy to have these yarns. So the day that these arrived in the mail, I straight away knit up a gauge swatch. I knit up my swatch with a 4mm needle holding these two together, and loved the way it looked, but it was super loose. And I wasn't sure what project I wanted to knit up with this yarn, so I kind of just let it sit for a little while and let myself think about it. And I have been watching a lot of Penrose knits lately. I have been rewatching her Vlogmas again from last year and the year before, and I did see her knitting up the penny gloves, and I thought, I really want a beige brown pair of penny gloves. I just think they're so beautiful. I think it's so cute. It's so simple, but so classic and elegant. So I grabbed my Drops Baby Merino and my Drops Kid Silk Mohair, and I thought, you know what, how small of a needle size do we need to get gauge for this pattern? The answer was 2.5mm needles. And so that is what I have done. This is my first penny glove. How cute! Using the Kid Silk Mohair and the Drops Baby Merino held together. And I am now at the point where I can start. I think I'm increasing for the thumb. I think that's where I'm up to. But I am obsessed with how this looks. The halo, the fluff, the fuzz, and the way it kind of makes, it adds some variation into the yarn with the mohair and the baby merino together. And I'm just loving it. The penny gloves are a pair of fingerless mittens, and I'm so excited to have this finished object. The process so far has been a little bit tedious because it is a very, very tight gauge. I'm not using yarns that are intended to be used on a 2.5mm needle, but I'm knitting it up magic loop, which allows me to kind of space out the stitches a little bit easier and allows me to take a break when I need to, if that makes sense. The fabric that it's creating is so beautiful and is so warm. When I'm knitting on it, sometimes my hands are getting sweaty. I'm like, these gloves are gonna be so toasty for my hands, and I'm very, very excited to have them. And I can see now why Drops yarn, even though it's cheap, is still very popular, is because it feels luxurious, it feels nice, it's comfortable to work with, and it's so, so soft. These two together just make the softest fabric. I was worried about the mohair because I was thinking maybe I'll make a beanie with it, and I was worried about it being itchy on my forehead, but it is not at all. It's not irritating me at all. I think I do have sensitive-ish skin, not overly sensitive, but for someone who can have sensitive skin, this has been so, so soft and so nice to work with. I am already keen to order more Drops Baby Merino and see what else I can knit up with it, because I think knitting this up without mohair would just be so beautiful as well. It would just be so clean and just stunning. So I'm so happy that I've got my hands on this yarn, and I'm really excited to have a pair of penny gloves. All right, I'll give you a quick update on my dumpling bag. The dumpling bag is a free pattern by Purl Soho, and I showed this in my previous podcast, but it was barely a whip. I had cast on provisionally, and I had done, you know, the smallest amount on the body portion. But I have now finished the body of the bag according to the pattern, which I will get into in a minute. But I've finished the body portion of the bag, and I am now up to knitting the first strap. It kind of looks like a mess because there's stitches on hold, and there's stitch markers, there's all sorts going on. I am knitting this up using some Kmart yarn. This is the Enco 8-ply acrylic, and I'm using a 4.5mm needle to knit this one up. I enjoyed having some stockinette to knit up the body portion of the bag, but now that I've gotten to the strap, I've kind of put this project on hold just because I'm not enjoying the process of knitting this strap very much. There's like slip stitches on each side of the strap, which gives it a bit more structure and strength, but I'm finding that really tedious to knit up and kind of boring, if that makes sense. So this hasn't really been a priority project for me this month, but I do want to get it finished because I think once the straps are done, there's really not much left for me to do on this bag, which means I can start using it to hold my other whips. I am enjoying working with this yarn. It's a pretty easy acrylic yarn to access here in Australia. It maybe cost me about $3 for a 100-gram ball, so really not much at all. And I'm excited to have the finished object. It's just a matter of getting some motivation to actually work on it. But as I was saying, with the body of the bag, I have gauge, I've made gauge, and I've measured it several times, but it just seems really short compared to the pictures. I don't know if maybe that's just because there's nothing in it, like there's nothing holding it, but the pattern said knit 20 centimeters, and that's what I did. So I don't really know how it's going to turn out, but I think I'm just going to continue following the pattern, and then we'll just see how it turns out. It's just an acrylic bag, so it's not really anything too special. If it comes out smaller than intended, then so be it. I don't really mind so much. But that's my dumpling bag. There's nothing really else to say on that project. I think hopefully it will be a finished object by the time I next see you, but if not, I'm not really putting any pressure on myself to finish this one. All right, this is a very exciting work in progress and I'm so excited to show you because I've made a lot of progress on this WIB. As I said, I went into my knitting slump and I didn't work on anything. And then when I got COVID, I decided I was going to work mainly on this project for about 3 solid days. And that really boosted my mojo for this project. And I'm excited to get my hands on it again today to just work through the next portion. I will say the needle, the cable is too short for this project. So it's going to be a little bit tricky to show you what it actually looks like. But I am knitting up a process vlog. So you'll be able to see a lot more of this project on my channel once it's finished. But it's my porcelain sweater by LeKnit. Look at this bad boy. Oh my God. Every time I see it on camera, I just fall in love with it again. So I have finished the front panel and I have joined in the round. As you can see, cable is way too short for this project. I have not joined the shoulder seams yet. I decided there's 2 options in the pattern. You can either do German short rows or just seam the shoulders together. And I don't enjoy German short rows, so I decided to just do the seaming option and just mattress stitch them together. But I haven't had the motivation to do the mattress stitch just yet. So we will get there eventually, just not right now. So it's still separate for a little while. But I have finished the second colorwork panel on the body, which is just stunning. This leaf motif is just so beautiful. And I am now back to doing just the main color in stockinette for a couple of rows, and then I have 1 colorwork chart left to do on the body, and then it will be time for ribbing. I can't believe how much progress I made on this sweater this month. For some people it may not seem like a lot, and I'll chat about this in a minute, but for someone who, you know, works full-time and doesn't have a lot of time to devote to knitting, I'm very, very proud of how hard I worked on this in the last 2 weeks of this month. So it's coming along nicely. I'm hoping maybe this will be done by Christmas time, so then I can focus on my other sweater whip, which we will get to. I am just completely knitting this to pattern. I haven't made any alterations yet. I am doing it exactly as suggested. And I don't think I'm going to alter the length on this at all. I'm just going to follow the pattern to a T, knit the rows that are suggested. It's already very oversized, so I don't think I'm going to need to knit it any longer than it already is. I'm thinking once I finish the last colorwork chart, I'm going to try it on, see how long it is, and decide how long I want to do the ribbing and whether or not I actually want to do a split hem for the ribbing. I am not 100% sure how oversized this is going to come out. I am knitting the size large, and there is a lot of positive ease suggested in this pattern. As I mentioned previously, I'm knitting up the size suggested for my bust measurement with the included suggested positive ease. So as I said, 100% to pattern, haven't made any changes there. So I'm not exactly sure what the fit is actually going to be like once it's done. But I will try it on and decide whether or not I want to do a split hem, just because I don't want to look like a balloon in this sweater. I think actually my next step might be to seam up the shoulders. I might do that after filming this podcast, and then I might actually do the neckline, because I don't want to do the sleeves and the body ribbing without having done the neckline first, because that will always bring up the sweater a little bit and like cinch it in a bit more. And so I just want to make sure the lengths are all accurate and correct before binding off anything. As I said, I'm filming a process vlog for this project, which is obviously going to be spanning several months. I have been working on this sweater for two whole months now, I think. So hopefully I'll be finished by the end of December, and you guys will be able to see that video and see everything that I've done with this project. I'm losing stitches, hold on, sorry. I talk a lot more in detail about this project in that video, so once that's out and you can see that, you'll have a lot more knowledge about this project. But I'm obsessed. I'm loving it. It's coming out exactly like I want it to. And as I said previously, I want to knit up another one of these because I just love the way that it looks. I think it's stunning pattern, beautifully written, and the charts are so easy to follow. If you're wanting to knit up the porcelain sweater, I would insanely suggest that you do. Even as a beginner, I think it's a really easy one to follow and something that you can really get into if you've never knit colorwork before. All right, this is going to be very quick. I'm going to talk about my Moby sweater for like 2 minutes. Because I have shown this in almost every podcast episode I have released, and it is still not finished. I'm not ashamed, I'm not embarrassed about that. It's just the way life is. As I said, I don't have much time to devote to knitting at the moment, and sweater projects like these take a long time for me. I'm a slow knitter and I enjoy the process, so it's not a bad thing that they're taking a long time, but it just means that I'm showing you the same thing over and over. So I do apologize for that. But I have made some progress on the body of my Moby. It may not look different to you compared to the last episode, but I have done some work on it. And I am just gonna keep slogging along. I'm gonna keep making my way down, and one day we'll get to the end of this sweater and I'll be able to wear it for an episode for you. And I cannot wait for that day to come. I am knitting this up in 4 seasons half and half, which is a 50% acrylic, 50% wool yarn, and I am enjoying the process. It just feels like it's taking a million years. I cast it on so long ago, so it feels like I've been working on this project for a long time. I have told myself that I'm not allowed to cast on any other sweater projects until the Moby and the porcelain sweater are done. I do not want to have 5 sweaters on the go at one time because I'll get overwhelmed and then I just won't ever finish anything. And I don't want to have any shame or stress linked to this hobby because it's just something that I enjoy doing. So we're just going to relax. We're going to take our time with our sweaters, and once they're done, it's going to be so worth it. The last whip I have to show you is a little bit random and not something that I was really intending on casting on. But I saw these all over Instagram, YouTube, and Pinterest as well. And I thought I just have to give this a go. Let me get them all together so I can show you kind of what it's supposed to look like. It is a crochet project that I am using some stash acrylic yarn for. And I'm using a 3.25 millimeter hook to make these flowers. So they're upside down right now because they don't have stems attached to them. But my intention is to make a lavender bouquet. Let me see if I can kind of hold them up for you. There we go. A lavender flower bouquet. I have so much of this purple yarn that I want to use up, so I'm going to continue making these flowers and just make a giant flower bouquet to keep on the top of my bookshelf. And I might also make a bouquet for my best friend whose favorite color is purple, for her to display in her house. But I will link the tutorial for these flowers down below, the one that I've used. There are a lot of tutorials for these all over YouTube and TikTok and Instagram, so it's not hard to find, but I will link all the ones that I used down below. I also made some white ones just with also acrylic yarn. There we go. To mix into that bouquet just to give it a little bit of dimension. The main thing I need to do for these now is to buy the stems, because you wrap this around like a metal rod kind of thing, and then it stands up like a lavender flower. So that's what I need to do in order to finish off this project. So we'll probably be done by the next time I see you and I can show you what it's supposed to look like. But that is everything that I have finished or have been working on this month, which is just crazy. As I said earlier, I got excited and bought some yarn. So I'm going to show you some other yarn that I bought this month and tell you what I intend to do with it. So when I ordered the Malibrigo and the Drops Baby Merino, I also ordered some Drops Alaska. This is in the color 50, It's just 100% wool, maybe an Aran weight yarn. It says yarn group C. I don't know with drops what that actually means, but it's just in this brown color, and I think I'm going to knit up a beanie with this yarn. It's not irritating. It doesn't feel crazily rustic, but it is a lot, like it's a thicker and a little bit more of a rustic wool yarn. So that's the Drops Alaska. I'm thinking maybe I'll knit up the Frosty Apple beanie again, but I'm not sure I have enough yarn for that. I only bought 2 balls of this, so 100 grams. So we'll see what I can get out of 2 balls of Drops Alaska. If I have to order more, I'll order more. It is what it is. So along with the Malibrigo in the Eucalipto colorway for my dad's cowl, I also ordered a skein of it in Bobby Blue, which is just this most stunning blue color. And the idea for this is to knit up something for my mum for Christmas. I was thinking of knitting her a cowl. I did cast on the cowl series for her. I did the 1x1 rib, and then I started doing a 4-stitch cable design as outlined in the pattern, but I did not like how that was looking. I think the gauge just wasn't right. I was using a small needle to try and get gauge, but it just made the cables look all, not great. So I frogged that, and now I'm not too sure what I'm going to cast on with this. I'm leaning more towards a beanie, potentially a cabled beanie, but I'm not 100% sure yet. We'll just see. But I'm in love with this color. It's just so beautiful. If you have any pattern suggestions for the Malibrigo Rios yarn, please leave them down below. Otherwise, I'm going to have a trawl on Ravelry and see what I can find. But I'm so happy with this color, and my mum loves blue, so that's for her. On the same line of gift knits, I did mention in my previous podcast that I'm planning on knitting my dad a cabled sweater, actually knitting up the Dreams of Aran pattern by Drops Design, which is a free cable sweater pattern. And I wasn't sure what yarn I was going to use. I was thinking of maybe ordering one online, but I did go to Spotlight and had a field day, and I bought some of this Cleckheaton Country yarn. This is a 8-ply 100% Australian wool. This is in the color 19, and it's just this very basic cream colorway that he liked. He was happy with that. That's the type of color he wanted, and he wanted something with a little bit of variation in it, so it had a little bit of dimension to it. But as I said, I'm not casting on any sweaters until Porcelain and Moby are finished, so this one is on the back burner for a little while, but I have the yarn for it now, which makes me very excited and very happy. Then I bought another sweater quantity of cream yarn because I am me and that's what I do. I bought the Keepsake Fiberco 100% organic wool. This is in the color cream, and my intention for this is to knit up my second Porcelain sweater. I want to do a cream version with maybe a green or a blue contrast color for the color panels. I'm not 100% sure what color I want to pair with it or what yarn to use for the contrast color, but this is also on the back burner for a little while until I can finish up my other sweater projects. The squish factor is real, and I just know that when this gets blocked, it's just going to be so drapey and squishy and comfortable. Again, not itchy at all. This one's really, really soft actually. I can definitely feel it on my skin, you know, because it's 100% wool. You can always feel it, but it's not scratchy. It's not itchy at all. So that's the Keepsake Fiberco yarn. Then I got myself some cotton yarn. So I was having a look at Spotlight and having a look through their cotton yarn options because I do want to do some summer knitting. And I ended up buying the Annette Erickson Eco Cotton. This is in the color white. It's a very sort of, the way I would describe it is neon white. I don't know if that makes sense to anybody else, but that just makes sense in my brain. It's like a white, but it's a very, very stark white. It is 85% cotton, 15% polyester, and I'm gonna make a summer top with this one. I'm not too sure what pattern just yet. I have saved a lot of summer top patterns on Ravelry actually. That's most of my Ravelry favorites actually, is summer tops. So that's my intention with that yarn. I'm not too sure when I'm going to cast it on though, because I'm not too sure what gauge I'm going to get with this yarn. I haven't knit up a gauge swatch just yet, so we'll see when I get around to it, when I feel like it. The weather in Melbourne has been so temperamental. We've had hot days where it's been like 28 degrees. I know later this week, oh no, next week, there's going to be some 27, 28 degree days. But today, for example, it's only 15 degrees, so cold. So I'm not really in the mood to do any summer cast-ons just yet. But I know once it starts warming up towards the end of December, I'm going to be in the mood to have something a bit lighter and cooler on my needles. Speaking of needles, I bought my first pair of DPNs this month. I got the what are these? The Knit Pro Zing 4mm DPN needles. I bought these because I want to make some Christmas decorations that I spoke about in my last podcast, and I need some DPNs to make stars. Those are them, 4mm. They're metal. They're not crazy sharp. They're actually quite blunt on the ends, but they do the job. I'm using one of them as a cable needle at the moment for my Moby sweater, so not really serving its purpose right now, but hopefully we'll use these in the future to make some DPN based projects. Those are all of my projects and my acquisitions. I'm going to move on to some knit and chat, and I'm actually going to do some stockinette on my porcelain sweater whilst I talk. So this month I actually did quite a bit of sewing. I made 3 Halloween scrub tops for myself and then one for one of my friends at work. I went to Spotlight. I'm always at Spotlight. I went to Spotlight with my friend from work though, after work one day, just to fill the time, and we saw some of the Halloween fabrics were on sale. So I picked up some of those fabrics and made some tops. I'll pop some pictures here. My mum taught me how to sew actually when I was young, and we also did like textiles at school, sewing and textiles at school. So they also taught us at school how to sew, and I've been wanting to make scrubs for a long time. I made a Winnie the Pooh pair of scrubs, but they don't actually fit me very well. The fit is very odd. I find with a lot of these sewing patterns, you really do need to customize them a lot to make them fit the way that they're supposed to. And I think that just comes from like standardization of measurements and things like that. You know, no body is the same. So, and there's a lot of factors that go into making sure the final object comes out the way the pattern intends. So ensuring you've got the right seam allowance and you're cutting the pattern pieces to the right size and things like that. But I think that just all comes with time and experience. I'm not a very experienced sewist, so I don't have a lot of knowledge when it comes to altering sewing patterns. But I'm proud of the tops that I made. I wore my Nightmare Before Christmas one on Halloween because I worked Halloween evening, so that was really cute, and I took some candy and a little pumpkin and did some trick-or-treating around the ward, which was cute. I am excited to see what Christmas fabrics they have at Spotlight so I can make some Christmas scrubs this year. I bought some earrings the other day, Christmas earrings from Kmart to rock throughout the month of November and December. I'm a Christmas crazy person, so I'm excited to be decked out at work in festive gear. All right, let's talk about things I've been listening to or watching or reading this month. So on my birthday, 1989 Taylor's version was released, and it was the highlight of my birthday. I cannot believe it. And I have been listening to it on repeat, obviously, but I am excited for Reputation to come out. I am all over the conspiracy theories. In my head, I hope she releases it on November 10th with no questions asked, no words, the same way she did when she originally released the album. But we shall see, we shall see. I'm all over the TikTok conspiracy theories when it comes to Taylor Swift's albums. And I think she's been leaving us lots of Easter eggs and lots of hints, so we'll see what happens. But I also have started listening to Christmas music. As I said, I'm a Christmas crazy. So of course, yesterday, 1st of November, I was all over it. Michael Bublé has defrosted and he is here to stay for the next couple of months. I haven't really watched anything new on TV or movie-wise this past month. I am excited for The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes to be released, actually. I loved that book. I was a Hunger Games kid in school. I was obsessed, and Hunger Games and all of those dystopia series like Maze Runner and Divergent are what really got me into reading when I was younger, because I wasn't much of a reader really until those books came out. So when the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes book came out, I was so excited. So I'm very keen to see the movie adaptation and see what they did with it. As for books, Iron Flame comes out next week, which is the Fourth Wing sequel, and I have pre-ordered 2 editions of it. I've pre-ordered the paperback and the hardback edition, and I have also pre-ordered the mystery Fourth Wing special edition, which also comes out on the same day. So hopefully they'll be shipped to me next week, and I will get them a couple of days after they're published. I ordered them from Booktopia, not from Amazon, so I'm not sure what day they're actually going to arrive. We shall see. But I'm so excited, and I saw they've picked up Fourth Wing. Amazon has picked up Fourth Wing for a TV show, I think, or a movie. So they have the rights, and so I'm really hoping that they do a good job with it. I've been thinking recently, and I've seen some TikToks, things like ACOTAR and Fourth Wing I think would look really cool as an animated, like an anime style animated show or movie. I feel like it just suits the fantasy vibe. I think with live action, I think it's difficult to translate that, especially with ACOTAR. I feel like it's difficult to translate that to live action. You've got to find someone who looks exactly like the character, and I think they run the risk of making it quite cringy, like a lot of other book to movie adaptations. There are some things that belong in books and don't belong on the screen. So we shall see how that goes. I did finish Wildfire this month. I pre-ordered that at the end of September. It came out at the start of October, and I read that within like 2 days, and I loved it. It was fantastic. It's Wildfire by Hannah Grace. She's bringing out a 3rd one, I believe, at some point, but I definitely suggest if you're into sort of fluffy romance, this is definitely a good companion series for you. I was really impressed, actually, because I get worried with companion series that the characters are going to be all the same, because I've had that happen in the past, and I've bought, like a whole companion series of like 5 books, and then you get to the 2nd book and you're like, oh, well, this is just the same story, just with a different face on it, kind of thing. But Hannah Grace did a fantastic job as establishing these characters as completely separate from the previous ones. And although, you get little cameos and things like that, it doesn't feel forced. It feels really natural. And I think she did a good job at exploring the characters individually and then how they come together. I think that was really good. I did buy some new books this month, which I will show you. I am not allowed to buy any more books on my Kindle because I stuffed it on Stuff Your Kindle Day. So I have a lot of Kindle books, so I don't need any more. So it's an excuse to buy some physical ones. First one that I bought is Guild by Raven Kennedy. I think this is a fantasy romance, Plated Prisoner series. My friend, who I have a little mini book club with, she has read this series and she loved it and has been raving about it and has told me to give it a go. So I bought this one. This is the first in the series. And yeah, I'm excited to give it a go. I don't know too much about it, but apparently it's good. So let me know if you've given that a read. Now, the next ones I kind of wanted some festive, cute, fluffy romance, and I saw these and I was like, yeah, that's what I want. They're both by BK Borison. And this one is sort of based around like a Christmas tree farm, and I just thought that was so cute to have a little festive romance, little Christmas romance. I thought was so adorable. So I got that one, and then I got another one, and this is a companion series as well, I believe. They're all sort of based in the same world. So this is Mixed Signals. I think this is the second one, maybe? I'm not too sure. But yeah, they're just easy, fluffy romances that I'm excited to give a go. And then this isn't a new book that I've bought, but it is the book that I'm currently reading, and that is Spanish Love Deception. If you're all over BookTok, you will have seen this book. This is also another romance novel, and I'm excited to give it a go. I've only read the first chapter, like this much. But I love the little bit of like fake dating trope, bit of enemies to lovers, forced proximity, he falls first kind of vibe. Yeah, that's what we've got. So I'm excited to give this one a read. She's thick though. For a little cute fluffy romance novel, yeah. So we'll see how long this takes me to get through. Because I like to knit a lot, I find it difficult to also engage in my other hobbies. So audiobooks are usually pretty good, but I also like to watch TV. So what I have ended up doing is I have a little textbook holder, like it's kind of like a laptop stand but for books, and I've started propping my books that I'm reading up on the stand because it has little pegs that come out to hold the pages open. So I've started doing that, and so I can actually read my physical books whilst I'm knitting. I think I'm a genius for that, but yeah, we'll see how we go. We'll see how we get through these. I really am talking a lot today. I do have to say that November is going to be also quite busy. I'm hoping to get through quite a bit of knitting, but I'm spending a lot of time out of the house throughout November, so there's not a lot of sitting and knitting time. There's a lot of moving around knitting time, which means that I don't get through significant chunks at the moment. But that's just what happens when you move into summer. I was very prolific over winter, and now that we're in spring, you know, I'm starting to socialize a lot more. The days are getting longer, so I'm out of the house for a lot longer, and that's just the way things go. So once we get back into winter next year, I'll probably go back into a hibernation knitting mode. But I do want to also say I am planning on doing Vlogmas this year, which is kind of crazy to say. What I'm thinking of doing is doing a weekly Vlogmas. So one video a week where I vlog sort of little parts of my whole week. So there'll be about four Vlogmas videos for you to watch. I am working a lot throughout the Christmas period. I will be working Christmas as well. I'll be on night shifts at the start of September. But I'm hoping to take you guys along for the festive activities that I do and any knitting related activities that I do. I want Vlogmas to fit nicely around my life. I'm not putting any pressure on myself. It's not going to be a high production value series. But I just want to give it a go and just see what happens. I'm so incredibly excited for Christmas and Vlogmas, especially Laura from Penrose Knits. I'm really excited for her Vlogmas this year. I loved her Vlogmas in July. Absolutely loved that, and I love watching her content, so I'm excited for that. If you have any Vlogmas suggestions, any people who have really good Vlogmas series, whether that be knitting YouTubers or just lifestyle Vlogmas, whatever, let me know down in the comments, because I always need new people to watch on YouTube, so definitely leave your suggestions below. Otherwise, that's everything from me today. I've done 2 rows of my porcelain, so that's good. Made some progress on that. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you as well for everyone who's liked and commented. If you are watching these videos, please subscribe. It's super easy. Just click one button and you'll always see my videos pop up in your little subscriptions box. And give the video a like if you enjoyed it, and please comment down below what you're working on whilst you've been watching this video, whether it be knitting, crochet, sewing, cross stitching, whatever. Let me know what you're working on, and I will see you guys next month for the next podcast. Thanks so much again for watching. I hope you are safe and well wherever you are. Bye.